Okay, so perhaps you are tired of hearing about the Super Bowl. Perhaps you are tired of hearing about Bad Bunny. Perhaps you are not. Maybe you are all for the commentary. Let me just say that I did not watch the performance, but I did want to share a lesson that I think would be valuable to you, my friend. Okay. So, just for context, because context always matters, even when the internet says it doesn't, I don't watch football. I don't watch halftime shows. I know those are two very different things, but I don't do either of them. I believe I've only watched one halftime show ever in my life, and that was on YouTube after someone tagged me in something. Okay. So this is not about the Super Bowl. That's my point. This is also not a political podcast episode. To be clear, I could go that route. Okay. I'm not. This is not about ICE. It's not about what's happening in our culture, in our community. It is not about the connection between Bad Bunny and any of those things. This is not a political episode, okay? The only thing that I want to share in this particular episode, and I debated, okay, to be clear, because I am personally tired of hearing about it. But the business lesson that I feel like people missed is worth sharing. If you can catch this, it will change everything. Now, I do realize that this will go over many people's head, and that's fair, okay? But it was too good not to share, okay? So here's my one tip, takeaway, thought process, lesson, whatever you want to call it, that is invaluable when it comes to building your business. Okay. So tons of people had never heard of Bad Bunny before, right? My hand is raised. I had never heard of him before. I'm not sure if this is a Black people thing. Nope, it cannot be a Black people thing because I also heard white people saying the same thing. And there were literally thousands and thousands, maybe millions, I don't know, but definitely thousands of people who had never heard of his name, never heard a single song before the Super Bowl. Okay. And what's crazy about this is that he was the most streamed artist. I did a little recon, right? Did a little research in order to do this episode, as I do with most episodes. Okay. He was the most streamed artist in the world, to be clear, not in one state, not in one city, not in one country, okay? But the most streamed artist in the world on Spotify, okay? And not just 1 year, but 2020, 2021, 2022, and then again in 2025, okay? And in 2025, you want to hear how many? Just in 1 year, 19 billion streams. And I said B, not M, 19, not 19 million, 19 billion streams with a total of 100 billion streams altogether. Okay. So just for a little context, so you know what we're talking about here today. Right now, one angle that I thought about talking about is how you could be huge, i.e., he is a huge artist, and still millions of people have never heard of you. We won't go that angle. Okay. I think there's some value there, but I'm not going there today. Here's the question. Here's the focus of our episode today. How does a native Spanish-speaking person perform in Spanish, right? Just in case y'all didn't watch, okay? How does a native Spanish-speaking person perform Spanish, a full performance in Spanish to a non-native speaking country where 90% of the people who were present for that performance could not understand the music? Like, that's what I want. That's the question. How you got to the Super Bowl is an easier, we could ask, but the stats speak for itself, okay? But what's crazy is most of his streams, he is far more internationally known than he is in the US, okay? And particularly in countries that speak Spanish. No surprise there, okay? So it would make sense why he would speak on big platforms, okay, that are in predominantly Spanish-speaking countries. But I would venture to say, and you can, yeah, I'm happy to be wrong, okay? But I would venture to say that very few people could have ever predicted not only that he would do the Super Bowl, perhaps somebody, could have predicted that with the numbers that he has, but I think very few people would have ever predicted that if he did ever do the Super Bowl, that he would do a full performance in Spanish. Okay. And not only would he do a full performance in Spanish, but that there would be no subtitles, there would be no translating, there would be no accommodations or attempts for accessibility at all. I don't think many people would have guessed that. Okay. But I think there's a lesson here, right? And the question is, well, how does that happen? How does someone not have to make concessions? Now, to be clear, we don't have no way of knowing what kind of concessions that man had to make, okay? But we do know he didn't have to make concessions on the main thing, right? That's what we do know because we saw the performance. If I don't mean me, okay? I don't mean me per se. I mean on my recon, okay? So in the Super Bowl, this is the other thing I think is important for the remainder of the conversation that we're going to have today. The Super Bowl is just and I don't even want to say the start, right? But there's no question that he then parlays this performance into other performances, into endorsements, into revenue, into events, into merchandise, et cetera, right? And so the $1 million question, or the $1 billion question in his case, is how can you do something similar? How can you get in front of large crowds of people without having all the things that you think you need to have, right? Without having all the things that they, whoever they are, the infamous they, want you to have, okay? We put all these limitations on what we have to have first. We got to have this. We got to have this. I got to change this about myself. And it's like, oh, that man didn't. Now, again, we don't know what kind of concessions he had to make. Okay. But what we do know is that he got to show up in his authenticity. And this is not about authenticity. This episode is not about you being your authentic self. Okay. I feel like being your authentic self is far more hype than it should. Okay. Just a little sidebar. Yes, be your authentic self. Okay. Yes. And also realize that your authentic self is a moving target. You and your authentic self change. Like, you should not be the same person you were 5 years ago, which means your authentic self is relative. That's a whole nother podcast that, that we'll touch at another time. Okay. This one's not going deep into authenticity, but I do want to point out the fact that he got to be his authentic self. And a lot of times, one of the biggest problems that I see for all the time in entrepreneurship is people won't give themselves permission to do it their way. People have an idea, sometimes a very clear idea about what they want. Oh, I just want to build a really big podcast. I don't really want to be on social media. Oh, I just really want to be on one platform, not 5 platforms. Oh, I really only want to sell high ticket. Oh, I only want to only sell low ticket. Like, we all have these things that we desire, our preferences, but very rarely do people give themselves permission to build the business in a way that they want. Almost always they make concessions. Why? Because they're committed to winning. They're committed to succeeding, and because they think they have to. And it's like, well, I can't build a completely low ticket business. I can't build a only high ticket business. I can't build fill in the blank. Or I can't build a business where, I only market once a week. I can't. And it's like, we put all of these limitations on what we can't do. But one of the things that I loved about this performance that I did not watch, but got to see so much commentary on my feed, people who liked it, people who didn't like it, people who thought she was racist if you did like it. Was just a lot of commentary. Here's what the whole point though is I want you to be able to say, well, how could I do something similar? And by similar, I mean do something my way and be in large crowds of people. Like, again, this is not about you speaking on stages or, no, this is about whatever you want. Like, you have a big opportunity that you desire, right? Whatever that is, that's what I want you to have in your mind. Okay. Because that's the point of this particular podcast is how can you get the big opportunity that you're looking for without losing yourself, being able to do it your way. Okay. So in the online space, one of the main topics that is talked about nonstop ad nauseum is marketing and visibility, right? Nonstop. That is what we are here. That is what we hear. And I would say half the internet only talks about marketing. Like they literally think marketing is the key to life. Like you need more leads, you need to market more. Okay. And then the other half of the internet is avoiding marketing at all costs because of all kinds of things. Maybe they hate social, maybe they're fear of the camera. They just got their reasons where they really love delivery, they don't like marketing. And so the internet is so split. But the truth, as with most things, is in the middle. Okay. This idea that marketing is the key, no, hard pass. Okay. Marketing is not the most important part of your business, right? And treating it like it is the most important part of your business is why the coaching industry is in flux as we speak. And I'm using flux loosely here, okay? Because there's plenty of money to be made, plenty of people still winning. But you know how everybody's talking about a trust recession, right? That is the direct result of people just focusing so heavily on marketing, okay? And what's crazy is that I still hear people talking about fixing this whole trust recession with more or better marketing. And I'm just like, you do realize marketing is not the key. Okay. So my point here is half the internet is saying marketing is the key. It is untrue. Okay. The other half is saying, I don't want to market. I don't want to be on social. I just want to, serve my clients. And I'm like, ooh, not an option. Right. So the truth is in the middle. Okay. We need to be marketing, and marketing is not the key. Okay. It is a piece of building a business. And I think what happened is because the online industry focuses so heavily on marketing, we got it confused. Right. The goal is not to, how would I say this? I think this is a way. Okay. The goal is to grab, emphasis on grab attention. Okay. Not to get attention. Right. This is a quote that I heard from in one of Ryan Holiday's books. I can't remember which book I was reading, but it might not be that exact phrasing, but that's the essence of it. I might have put my little stank on it, and said it a little different. But the essence of it is the goal is to grab attention, not to get attention. Because that's exactly what Bad Bunny did. Right? He did his own thing, meaning he is catering to his own people. Right? One of the people that I think about is Tyler Perry. Okay. Where again, I don't know as much about black about Bad Bunny, but I know he's big internationally. I know that he does all of his music or most of his music in Spanish. Like there are some things that are easily Googleable about him, right? He caters to Spanish speaking groups of people. Okay. That's his whole music is in Spanish. Okay. So he is doing his own thing, is my point. Whatever it is that he really loves in his music, that's what he's doing. Right. And I think a lot of people think you have to give up. You can't do this part. You can't do this part. It's like, oh, I think he's proving otherwise. Right. So number one, he did his own thing. Right. He had his own genre, his own focus, his own kind of music. And number two, he got amazing, meaning he mastered his own thing. Okay. And then he let them, i.e., the Super Bowl, come to him. Now, that doesn't mean that he didn't pitch or, again, don't confuse me saying they came to him because I don't know. I don't know whether that man got an email from somebody on the Super Bowl team or whether he pitched them 22 times. What I do know is that no matter whether they came to him directly or he started the conversation, he would have never got it if he didn't already come with the juice. That's what I do know. That's what I mean by how you get people to come to you. Okay. The thing that I want you to be able to hear is that it is depth that creates scale, right? Depth is created in delivery, not marketing, right? When I say delivery in his world, because he's an artist, Delivery is performance, right? In our world, in the coaching, consulting, education space, delivery is our products and services, us delivering on it. Okay. Depth is created in delivery, not marketing. That man did not get on that platform because of marketing skills, because of how much he marketed his performances. No, he got good. He became a beast at his thing. Marketing is about getting attention. Delivery is about grabbing attention. Again, Bad Bunny did not market his way to the Super Bowl. He most certainly did not. And I think one time, one of the things that really gets in our way is not understanding the difference between correlation and causation, right? So it's like, let's use hard work as an example. Oh, everybody thinks you need to work hard, work hard, work hard, work. And there are moments, there are times that's definitely a part of it. Okay. No one's lying. No one saying that is not true. But what I want to be clear is that hard work is a correlation to success. It is not a cause for success. And we know that to be true because tons of people work very hard, either physical labor, mental labor, long hours, whatever we want to call hard work. Plenty of people do that and they do not have success. So we know that hard work does not cause, okay, success. Now it can be correlated, but it is not causal, right? And this is how we look at marketing. We think marketing is causal. Well, if I just market more, if I post more content on social, if I do more videos, if I get more leads, then I'll be successful. But marketing, my friend, is not the cause of your success. It's correlated. You do need to market. Don't hear me say otherwise. But putting so much focus on that is why the business is hard. Delivery, i.e., depth, is what is causal to the success that you're looking for. Okay. In our world, we say delivery creates demand. And what I often see is that in the online space and really in the nonprofit space, in both sectors of my work, even in the personal development space, which is a whole nother world, it's like we keep trying to manufacture demand, right? And when I say demand, think about the things that you want. You want consistent revenue, you want short sales cycles, you want ease in your sales process, et cetera, et cetera. All those things that you want, demand, right? And we keep trying to manufacture demand, right? Think about, let me think. So people are always talking about trying to become an Amazon bestseller. Okay. People pay to get logos like the Forbes, the Entrepreneurs, the New York Times, all that kind of stuff. They pay to get those logos on their website. Not everybody, to be clear, I'm saying that everybody does that, but there are plenty of places where you can pay money to get logos on your site. Right? Same way that you can pay to speak on people's stages. And the truth is, all of these things have a place. I'm not saying that any of these things are bad necessarily. The problem is when you use them as your primary, one of two ways. Either you're using them as your primary way, like you're focusing on tactics, like becoming an Amazon bestseller is going to be the key. It's like, no, that's like one very small portion of your marketing strategy. I'm not saying don't do it, don't do it. What I am saying is that focusing on marketing, focusing on tactics, focusing on anything other than depth will not land you, number one, the biggest opportunities, but more than that, the opportunities that allow you to do it your way. And even more than that, perhaps, is being able to attract them rather than have to chase them. Like he attracted the opportunity. That's the thing. It's like we all want attraction. We want clients to come to us. We want funds to come to us, but we don't necessarily know how to create. That's the thing. We don't know how to create attraction. We don't know how to create demand, despite the fact that we actually want it. And when you focus on manufacturing demand, when you focus on getting attention, what happens is you spread yourself too thin. You're spending a lot of time, money, and energy on things that actually won't produce the result that you're wanting. So if I was to go spend, I don't know how much these things cost, but let's say I was going to go spend $500 to get a logo of, I don't know, Forbes on my website. Okay. And it's like, well, what's the purpose of that? Like, hopefully you're not doing it in order to get revenue, because that's not a thing. Now, could it create credibility? Like, it does serve a purpose, but it isn't the one that you should focus on, depending on the season, the stage, your capacity, all these different things, right? Here's my concluding point, okay? Your product slash program needs a higher level of efficacy. I'm just going to say it again. Your products and programs, i.e., your delivery, needs a higher level of efficacy. Efficacy just means results. Okay? Efficacy just means that you are getting the outcome that you are promoting or promising. Right? This is not to take away from your experience, your education, or your expertise. Right? I am very experienced. I have a lot of expertise. I have a lot of education. Okay? But guess what? This is not just about your expertise. It's about your ability to transfer your expertise and your experience and your education predictably into a specific outcome. Did you hear that? Transfer, emphasis on transfer, emphasis on predictably, emphasis on outcome. You need all three in order to have efficacy. Because again, the better you get at delivery, the easier everything else gets. The easier everything else gets, the easier it is to attract the opportunities that you want. Almost every program that I've been in has been by a true expert. Literally. People who have 10 years experience in this, or 5 years in this, or 30 years in this, right? A lot of times we're leaning on our competence, not really realizing that that's not the only component that we need in order to be successful. Because despite being in programs with true experts, many of those programs have been mediocre at best and trash at worst. Not that I could not get something from it. There's probably not been a program where I could not get something from it. Okay? And the programs were not mediocre or trash because the people were bad. I rarely run into bad people, right? It wasn't because the program didn't have enough information, didn't have enough stuff in it. It was because the program barely and maybe rarely produced the results it promoted and promised. So even if I learned something from your program, which ideally you are teaching people things in your program, but did they get the outcome that you promoted and promised? That's what I want. That's the question. Bad Bunny proved himself as a master at his craft. That's how he was able to grab attention, not get attention, and while being himself. Here's the thing: we do not know how much that man makes. We do not know. He could be broke. I know that sounds like a crazy thing to say, but the number of successful people, meaning people who have accomplished big things, that are broke is a lot of people. Right? So we don't know how much money that man made. And one of the things that I learned is that when you perform for the Super Bowl, there are certain performances that you cannot take. Right? There are restrictions on things that you can not do for a period of time. So that means you're actually losing revenue. Okay? So we don't know how much that man makes, which is the point. My point is that he didn't get on that stage because he makes a lot of money. That's not like, there's a lot of people who make a lot of money, probably more money than him. They know they don't end on that stage. I'm mentioning it because a lot of times people think it's your revenue as a business owner that matters most. But every industry has a different KPI, so to speak, on how they measure success. NBA players are not most successful because of the money they make. The money they make is great. Just like the performers, they make money. Just like entrepreneurs make money. That can add to your credibility, but it is not causal, my friend. It's not causal. It's correlated. And so long as we keep putting things that are correlated above the things that are causal, we will continue to work hard and get far less results than what we want. That's what I want you to hear. Right? Well, what makes you the greatest NBA player of all time or top 10? Okay, it's not money. Same thing. Well, what makes you the top performer as an artist like Bad Bunny? It's not money. What makes you the best expert, right? The coaches, consultants, kinds of people. It's not money, right? It's not logos that you put on your website. It's not audience size and followers on social media. All of those things can help you. Making $1 million can help you. Having a big audience side can help you. Seeing Forbes on the can help. All of that can help you. But you know what actually is causal, not correlated? Your results. That's the difference that separates high performers from elite performers. Everybody who gets into the NBA, 99% of those people, high performers, already great in their own right, could beat most of the people on the planet at basketball. Already high performers. That's what I want you to hear. You're already a high performer. But in order to become an elite performer, and elite performers get to command, the elite performers have big opportunities that come to them. The Michael Jordans, the Kobes, the Dwayne Wades, the LeBrons, right? All of the, elite performers that stand above high performers. Guess how they do that? Their performance. What's your performance? Your performance as a coach, consultant, expert, entrepreneur is your delivery. And so I say all of this to say, okay, this is my very long version of saying, so long as your program gets, I'm going to make it up, 50% success rate. Most people don't even know the success rate of their program because they don't even track those things, which is crazy work to me, okay? But so long as your program gets, 50% success rate, which a lot of programs don't even have 50%, but we'll just give you a little grace here, okay? Expect yourself to not show up with the same level of vigor, okay? When you know your program is not as strong as you'd like it to be, you don't show up to sell the program as strongly as you could. You're still selling, you're still marketing, but that's because you got to eat, okay? That's because your team has to be paid. And so long as you don't show up with the same vigor and your program is, mediocre, 50% is mediocre, okay? Then you should also expect the people who you want to buy it to show up with also 50% readiness, whether it be motivation, whether it be cars, be clarity, right? Like I started this off, well, somewhere in this point, I don't know if I started here. Your program needs a higher level of efficacy, my friend. Delivery is what creates demand, not marketing. If you put your focus on the right things, you'll be able to command, AKA attract the big opportunities that you desire while still being yourself. That's what I came here to say. That is the lesson that I want to leave you with. And you already know that if you need help, you call DM me on Facebook. We have a whole program called Program Therapy, specifically designed to help you with this very issue. Delivery is what creates demand. The goal is to grab attention, not get attention.